A very good afternoon to our respected teacher, Charu ma'am, and all our dear classmates. We, Savi and Sangeeta, today we were here to share our views on our PowerPoint presentation on Indian Knowledge System topic Indian Art and Architecture. Firstly, the introduction. First, brief overview of Indian art and architecture. Second, key influences like religion, culture, politics, and geography, etc. And the last, timeline from the Indus Valley civilization to modern India. So, here is some important points about art and the Indian style of art. Firstly, Hindus or Indians artists have celebrated or immortalized the beauty of human bodies in bronze and stone for more than 5000 years. Secondly, the art is essentially idealistic, mystic, symbolic, and the transcendental. Thirdly, the artist is both priest and poet. And the last point is only for meditating on the ultimate perfection could be the artist perceive the beauty of the Godhead. So, this is some important points about art. While Indian art has always been loved and adorned by people from all around the globe, the folk and tribal arts of India are very ethnic, simple, colorful, and vibrant. They speak so much about the country's culture heritage that people love to buy Indian art to adorn their houses even now. Now we will talk about yoga and artists. So, yoga can balance the body to allow for full expression in the arts. Um, Yoga is mind and body practice that can build strength and flexibility. There is nothing to prevent a yogi from being an artist or an artist from being a yogi. So this is very much important point. Um so we written here some important points about yoga and artists. First, give the craftsman his creative skills. Second, inspire the artist, poet, and musician who sought spiritual enlightenment. Third, a holistic practice originating in ancient India, combining physical, mental, and spiritual elements. And the last point is images of ancient art pieces showing yoga postures, example statues, frescoes, and other like cobra yoga poses. Now, the Himalayas. Hindu poetry, art, and mythology depict the sublime nature of the Himalayas, like regarded as special revelation of divine beauty. Second, seen as fitting shrine for at the gods. Himalayas include the highest mountains in the world, last one with more than 110 peaks rising to elevations of 24,000 feet, um, means 7,300 meters or more above sea level. So here is some brief information about the philosophy of art. Hindu philosophy recognized the impossible of human art capturing the form of God. Last is the creates in Indian paintings and sculpture a symbolical representation of milder, humanized, but still Superman divine appearances which mortal eyes can bear. So this is the information about philosophy of art in briefly. So now about bhakti. The Sanskrit word bhakti is derived from the verb Root bhaj, which means to worship, have recourse to betake oneself to, or bhanj, which means to break. The word also means that the attachment, devotion to, fondness for, homage, faith or love, worship, pity to something as a spiritual, religious principle or means of salvation. So here are some important points that we had written about bhakti, the moving spirit of all great religious art. Second, keeps Indian art alive. And the last point is Indians believe lack of its bhakti is what makes modern Western art so lifeless. Now, Ganesha, the Lord of success, destroyer of evils and obstacles, worshipped as the god of education, knowledge, wisdom, and wealth, and one of the five prime Hindu deities. So, now we talk about Indian architecture. Indian architecture is rooted in the history, culture, and religion of India. Among several architectural styles and traditions, the best known include the many varieties of Hindu temple architecture and Indo Islamic architecture, Mughal architecture, and etc. Especially Rajput architecture and Indo Saracenic architecture. So, these are some architecture we must talk about further. Now, Indus Valley Civilization from 3300 to 1300 BCE. Firstly, key features about that: urban planning means Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. Second, use of bricks, public baths, and drainage systems. Sculptures, the dancing girl seals. Last one is architecture highlights, grid pattern cities, and the Great Bath. Now, one of the most common architecture, that is Buddhist architecture and art, from 3rd century BCE to 5th century CE. Now further, key focus, early rock cut architecture and stupas. Second, it is developed in the Indian subcontinent. Third one is the earliest archaeologically known example of a stupa is the relic stupa of Vaishali located in Bihar. Fourth one is the Mahabodhi temple at Bodh Gaya in Bihar is another well known example, and the last one point is the pagoda is an evolution of the Indian stupas. Now second one is the Mughal architecture from 16th to 18th century. Mughal architecture is a type of Indo-Islamic architecture developed by the Mughals in the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries throughout the ever-changing extent of their empire in the Indian subcontinent. The Mughal dynasty was established after the victory of Babur at Panipat in 1526. So the first point is that we have written key focus, blend of Persian Islamic and Indian styles, use of domes, arches and intricate ornamentation, symmetry and the use of gardens. Examples like Taj Mahal, a masterpiece of marble inlay and symmetry, Red Fort, Fatehpur Sikri, and the last point is integration of calligraphy, geometric patterns and floral designs in art. So, Mughal architecture reached its zenith during the reign of Shah Jahan, who constructed Taj Mahal, the Jama Masjid of Delhi, the Shalimar Gardens of Lahore, and renovated the Lahore Fort. So, here are some Hindu temples of our Indian architecture. First is the Lingaraj temple. So, here are some few lines about Lingaraj temple. That is, Lingaraj temple is a Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva and is one of the oldest temples in Bhubaneswar. The capital of India, state of Odisha, India. The temple is the most prominent landmark of Bhubaneswar city and one of the major tourist attractions of the state. The central tower of the temple is 18 feet 55-meter tall. Second is the Jagannath temple. It is a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Jagannath, a form of Vishnu in Hinduism. It is located in Puri in the state of Odisha, situated on the eastern coast of India. The temple is famous for its annual Ratha Yatra or chariot festival, in which the three principal deities are pulled on huge and elaborately decorated rats or temple carts. And the last one is the Rajarani temple. It is an 11th century CE Hindu temple located in the Bhubaneswar, the capital city of Odisha previously, India, believed to be devoted to Lord Shiva. The Rajarani temple in Bhubaneswar is 11th century temple. The shrine is called Rajarani because it is made of yellow and red sandstone. Now, the North Indian styles. First, Nagara style. Second, from Himalayas to the Deccan. Third is the Shikara, which behaved shaped Jakpatos and Gavakes and the Amalika. The last second is the shrine is square at center, and the last one bell-shaped structure on main shrine. Now about the historical development. This is one of the most important topic. A historical development refers to the study and documentation of the changes and progressions in various aspects of society such as language, culture, or technology over time. It involves the analysis of events, influences, and factors that have shaped the present state of these subjects. The historical period of the English language are generally divided into Old English, Middle English, Early Modern English, and Modern English. These periods signify significant linguistic and cultural changes throughout the history of the English language. So, here are some points that we had written about the historical development. The earliest worship centers that Abu Simbel, Elephanta, Ellora. Horseshoe shaped window. The second last is originally inspired by the Buddhist stupa, and the last one is the Great Stupa. The temple architecture. First, religious, that is, astronomy and sacred geometry. Second, representation of macrocosm and microcosm. Third, has an inner sanctum, Garbha Girha. The last one is sanctum crowned by a Shikhara, that is, distinguishes the Nagara and Dravida styles. Now, the last is the summary about that we had learned above. So, firstly, about the Indian art. Here are some highlights about Indian art in the Indian knowledge system. Art is an important part of Indian culture and it can impact society by instilling ideas, altering people's mind, transmitting experiences, etc. Above the following of various arts like art of bhakti, philosophies of art, the Himalayas of art, the art of yoga and artists, and so on. Indian art contrasts its origins to antiquity. It has been influenced by cultural as well as religious elements such as Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Islam. It has comprises various art forms like paintings, like Madhubani, ceramics, sculpture, and etc. This is all about the art that we had discussed above. So now about the Indian architecture of art styles. Here are some important aspects of Indian architecture in Indian knowledge system. Indian architecture is influenced by the cultural and religion of the people. With every generation and every ruler, we see differences in the monuments built, the designs within, and each little aspect representing the story of the people alive that time. Above the following, we discussed about the main historical architecture development like South and North Indian styles, different types of temple architecture like Mughal and the Buddhist architecture in their old centuries. The Hindu temple architecture is divided into the Dravidian style of southern India and the Nagara style also vary between region depending on the climate. These are some important rules of ancient times of Indian architecture. So the ending part is references. Thank you.